was a really good collab.
But what's the water bottle?
The water bottle is from Pumps Exotic Dancing.
They have their own water bottles.
They got their own water bottles.
Is that just a thing of sweat?
It says read that little slogan there.
Pumps Exotic Dancing, filtered through the finest G-strings in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Which, if I were to guess, not that fine.
Oh, they're fine. They're fine.
They're fine?
They're very thin fabric, generally. Very thin, fine fabric. And, yeah, they bottle them. It's just, they just pour the water through an ass, crack, collect it in sort of a sieve, and, right into the water bottles.
Yeah, it has ingredients on it.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, ingredients, water.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
so we're good.
That's not exactly true. So,
what'd you do? You just walked in there. You're like, hey, can I get a bottle of water? You treat it like a bodega.
Yeah, exactly.
You got chips also.
Yeah, they got chips. They got lap dances, Coronas. Chopped cheese.
They do chopped cheeses. they got a full bodega guy working there.
Yeah, it's have you ever been to a strip club?
Yeah. But none that have water that they hand out.
They I'm sure. Well, they're missing out on a big branding opportunity. Pumps Exotic Dancing, everybody. I'm trying to get sponsored by them.
Yeah.
They're the strip club in Bushwick.
Okay.
And they
the strip club in Bushwick.
Yeah, and it's more of a like a titty bar, I guess.
Okay.
They don't have like a multiple like they don't have any private rooms. It's like a one bar with like behind the bar there's like 3 poles or something, and then there's just like a bunch of girls like hanging out at this essentially like dive bar. It's like pretty grungy spot.
Okay.
But the girls are all I was there this week, which is why I got the
you have a water bottle.
But when I had a little bit more bread over COVID, I spent quite a few nights there, and it's like hipster chicks that work there, generally.
Interesting.
So they're like a lot of tattoos, a lot of just like kind of openly gay women, and very few like fake tits, blonde hair that kind of like what I would say make up the majority of strippers outside of Pumps, especially in like Manhattan.
Okay.
You got the big fake tits, blonde hair,
the traditional
fillers, fillers. Yeah,
right.
These are more like natural, often like smaller tits, some like big hangers.
Okay.
And a lot of tattoos.
A more authentic experience.
Yeah, more authentic for the neighborhood for sure. And they just like when they if you're like at the bar, like they'll just come up to you, so you end up spending quite a bit of money. It's not like sort of like at these.
That's what strippers do. They approach.
But it's more than you're used to. I think at other clubs, like I've been to other clubs where like me and my like Breck, shout out Pure Chaos, anytime we do shows out of town, we usually just like to sample the local flavors, the local cuisine. We'll go to a strip club and just see what's up there. And often, like when we were in Austin, we were just like hanging out at these tables, like ready to spend fucking, a couple $100.
Right.
And just like, it was like minutes before anybody approached us. And,
interesting.
And I mean, like someone's like a long time, like where we're kind of like, okay, I guess we're just gonna chill, And you tip the dancers like if the dancers are like in front of you, but sometimes there's like not, It's like they're not as aggressive at Pumps. They're quite aggressive with. I would say they're it's like a small spot, so there's not really like room to like hide out.
Do you think that's a southern thing, or like? I only went to one.
I think
went
it's sort
twice.
of okay.
I'm not a strip club guy.
Yeah, I think you could be.
Well,
I could
anyone could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not. I don't get it. I don't get the appeal. Well, I mean, I get the appeal, but after spending $20, I'm like, wait, why am I doing this?
Yeah, I think you. It's like it's like you have to kind of have enough money such that whatever you spend there isn't like emotional to you. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, because I think I've taken friends there who like are lonely, which is like still a great reason to go to the strip club. And then these girls are like it's like, it can be, especially at pumps where like they look like your friends kind of in Bushwick.
And honestly, that's a little hotter.
It's definitely, I think it's hotter. And they, you may have a mutual friend, like there may be over like, oh, you might go dancing in the same places, like whatever. And you can get talking and then you're like, oh my God, I really feel like there's a vibe. And then you buy them a champagne, it's $20 or $20 or $30. And then
bottle of champagne's $20?
No, it's like a glass, it's like fake. It's like, this is like part of their ruse, right?
Okay.
Is like, they'll be like, oh my God, do you want to buy me a champagne? And it's just
that's
like,
crazy.
It's like fucking, Martinelli's or whatever.
Oh, okay.
It's like not real.
That's fun.
But they get
$20 bucks.
They get a cut of that. They get like 10 of the dollars of the champagne, and so whatever they're trying to get them to.
Right.
And you get a Dan. That's another, I think, like 20 or 30 bucks, and then all of a sudden, you're like, man, I'm really fucking. I think this chick likes me, and then that's where you sort of get into trouble because. She doesn't. She's just doing her job. She's probably a gay woman, honestly, at pumps.
Statistically.
But as long as you're not like leaving like this fucking whore like got me to spend $100 on her, and I just like it's like, dude, whatever. One, you like
you went to a strip club.
You went to a strip club, like yeah. But guys, I feel like strip clubs like aren't really as in vogue as maybe they were in like the 80s, whatever, like, and so I feel like guys are inexperienced with them, and I think if you are inexperienced with them, like you're liable to get got by these girls.
And why do you think there's a fall of the strip club? Do you think just like access to porn and stuff has resulted in the because strip clubs are losing, they used to be big.
Yeah.
Two things that don't exist anymore, really: strip clubs and limos. You used to take a limo to the strip club.
Yeah, I think
nothing.
Uber's responsible for the limo decline, and then I would say, I mean, I'm not sure. Just off the rip, I would say that one, like you used to be able to do business at strip clubs. It was like it was such like a guy's world that, I mean, I remember even when I was working at Vice, like
you worked at Vice.
For like 2 years in college and then just out of college. But I was working in creative and I was an intern, but they would take clients to pumps.
That's exactly where I think Vice would take their clients.
Right.
Who's Vice's clients?
I mean, the biggest in the world. At that point, that was like peak Vice.
That's like, I was a big fuck that's delicious guy. Still am.
Yeah,
Shout out Action
like,
Bronson.
Yeah, that was like right during that era. I'd say like 2015, 2016 was when I worked there, and
so is that who they took out, like Action Bronson?
No, it would be like
client?
it would be like IBM.
What?
It would be like the guys from creative, like who were like, they would come to Vice to be like, hey Vice, we want to seem cool to millennials, because this is also interesting, and these tangents are getting a little long, but like. Vice's business model was based on Facebook's Ponzi scheme of impressions, right?
Okay.
So Facebook had this on Facebook. They destroyed independent media through this process of basically saying, if you put your content on, like, we're going to become, no longer do you need to go to vice.com, no longer do you need to go to thevillagevoice.com.
Okay.
All of your news is going to be on Facebook. And so you, as a brand, can rely on the revenue that your branded videos potentially will get by posting them on Facebook and our and so Vice was able to be like, hey, IBM, like, we can guarantee that our videos, our branded videos for you, because of the pull that we have on Facebook and social media, are getting like 20 million views a pop.
Okay.
But the way that Facebook was collecting those views was fraudulent. It wasn't real.
Okay, they
And
were pumping
so
the numbers.
They were pumping the numbers. And so Vice built, I mean, this was at the time when they were like, maybe going to get bought by Disney.
No, Vice was gigantic.
Gigantic.
They had a TV channel for a minute.
This is at that period, right?
Okay.
Where and all of that is based on this fraudulent, these fraudulent numbers that are basically suggesting to these brands that are then pumping money into the thing, to these venture capitalists that are pumping money into the thing, allowing them to get a TV network, et cetera, that they that like, so it was a house of cards, right? Built on this these fraudulent numbers that basically Vice was able to say, look, every millennial is looking at Vice.
Right, here's the numbers.
Here are the numbers, which wasn't true.
Right.
And so
Okay.
when Facebook changed that, I mean,
Why'd they change it?
They had to. I think they.
Oh, like legally?
I think so.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they got called out by being like, I don't think these are like, what is an impression? We're selling impressions. That I mean, it's all.
Can you define impression?
You define an impression, and that I think was even just like scrolling past the video. You know, was considered.
An
engagement.
impression.
Okay. I'm not sure exactly how they worked, but it wasn't such that like, I mean, it sounds. I mean, these guys are all geniuses at these kind of like language, these almost like legalese. Like an impression sounds like, oh, it made an impression on you.
It's a great word.
You know,
And this is back before,
but it's
like,
devoid of anything.
And digital
What is
marketing wasn't that big until like 2014,
Yeah.
2015. So an impression, you're like, fuck.
And we made
Good.
7 billion impressions last month on social media. You know, what is that? But these but it's all, so somebody like IBM would come to Vice, somebody like client like Just for Men, Timberlands, MasterCard, Budweiser, Absolute, Espolòn, like all these brands were coming through the Vice chain.
I love Espolòn, by the way.
And
Shout out Espolòn.
yeah, great tequila, great branding, honestly. And it's like a guy's game. So it's like part of, they wanted to come to Vice for like, millennial appeal, right? We want to, especially some brand like Just for Men or Gillette, right? Which is like a little older guys, IBM. Like we want to pair with Vice. Vice is going to make our stodgy brand look cool. That's what like the creative team would sort of like guarantee.
Right.
And then inevitably pitch them an influencer road trip. But
that's basically what they did.
It was like, hey, let's get fucking Action Bronson to take a tour of breweries that just so happen to be owned by Budweiser. And that was every single, Action Bronson to go on a tour of barbershops sponsored by Gillette.
Yep.
Let's go.
I watched every one. They got me, dude.
Yeah. And that was like, so the work ended up being quite boring, but like Vice's part of their appeal would be like, hey man, we're so fucking cool. Come to our sick ass offices, have a couple beer. There's beer flowing.
They're in Greenpoint, right? The office was at the time?
It was like in Williamsburg. They actually co-opted these buildings that were owned by some legendary DIY venues, which is kind of ironic that this sort of counterculture brand evicted two of some of like the biggest art, like free DIY art spaces in Williamsburg, which was, sort of writes itself. But they would be like, yeah, man, come by the office, have a beer, happy hour starts every day at 4, we work till 9, but you can start drinking at 4 hours. It's 12-hour days. We're paying these guys minimum wage, but you can drink on the job, which is worth
pretty
it,
chill.
Which is worth it then. Dude, that company is so fucked up. They used to call it the Vice MFA because these guys were getting paid so little. I mean, I was getting paid, I think, $15 an hour.
As an intern?
As an intern, which is
that's
was
not
fine,
bad for an
which is
intern.
fine. I mean, I think it was like the legal sort of standard, but then you'd be working 12-hour days.
Oh yeah, you're a dog.
And the producers who were making, I think, like $35,000.
That's it?
Yeah, were an assistant producer at Vice, and you're working 12-hour days, and you're getting fucking yelled at, and they would call it the Vice MFA because it was like, the idea was that you essentially work for free for Vice,
Right.
essentially. You know, $35,000 is
Essentially
nothing.
free.
They're trying to sell the brand for $1 billion.
Right.
They failed.
Yeah. Aren't they like they went
they went
under?
bankrupt,
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because of once the House of Cards, it was like, this is worth nothing anymore. It's a
People caught up.
yeah.
It's like they figured it out, and they're like, we could do all this shit.
Yeah.
Like this isn't hard.
Yeah, and it's like sometimes these business guys just go like have ideas that because they are worth money, like people just don't really question the idea. You know, it's like somebody like Elon Musk, I think, is a good example of this, who's just like made insane brain dead decisions, but because he's worth, it's like, and like with Shane Smith, the CEO of Vice, like getting back into cable after being this counterculture brand that had built this big online like following. You know, they had Jesus and Miro,
Yeah.
and they had all these great. They had Fuck That's Delicious. They had these really big sort of online. What would they call them? It wasn't like a pillar, but it was some, these little channels, I guess. There's a different word.
Yeah.
But,
They're like mini brands within the brands.
mini brands within the brand, essentially like these little mini TV shows, which then we would like, yeah, but like that he would then be like, oh, our impressions, right? The amount of impressions that we're getting. I mean, I think they fool themselves, right? Like where it's like that is going to translate to cable. It's like cable's dead. You guys were part of the process of killing it.
Right.
You guys were part of what made online so huge, and the idea that you thought that you could make a cable channel work was crazy, and so it's like it's no wonder that it failed. I mean, they did some good shit. Like, I don't know if you ever watched Viceland, but that's like they're sort of like more like first person reporting.
Yeah, like they would go into
stuff,
war zones and shit.
which was also like,
But how did they like do that?
I mean, by completely subverting norms of reporter safety.
Okay.
And I mean, one of their reporters did get like arrested, and was, I think, I can't remember if it was like in Iran or some place, but like, you know, and it was a complete just disaster based on like no other company would have sent a reporter into that zone for that reason.
Right.
Ethically, I mean, like they were sending reporters into incredibly dangerous situations and breaking a lot of reporters' careers, kind of with the Vice MFA thing, like, hey, we're going to send you into some shit that nobody else would ever do because it's unsafe and borderline unethical. And, you know, hey, we're gonna get you on camera going into a cartel's cocaine making operation. And so we're probably going to pay you below board, but after you get out of this, probably you got a career now. Whereas nobody probably would have taken a chance on this person right out of J school or whatever, except Vice.
J school, pretty cool term.
Yeah.
I like how you slid that in. It's pretty cool.
J-school.
And always the people, they would like get in with like the Mexican cartel.
Yeah.
Where I was like, one, how'd you have that connection to get in?
Yeah, they do a lot of coke. That's
sketchy.
another thing. It was like these guys, when I was an intern, like the head of creative, somebody who's making $500,000, like one of the founders of Vice, essentially, not Shane, but like up there, was like at these big parties. That was another part of it. It was like, we get to part, like how they would just pay these people nothing, was like, we throw really cool parties that often like my team was like doing brand shit with, right? So it'd be like
networking,
the Espelon party, you know, and we are producing all this content at the party to put on social, you know, but then it's like these big shot at Vice were like doing coke with interns, and it's like, bro, this no wonder you guys are so. And I get it's like cool. It's like cool to be like that kind of like unprofessional and chill when it's like a 10-person team and it's like a little slutty magazine that you stick in sort of like tattoo parlors.
Right.
But when, you know, that attitude is what is putting people in war zones with no protection, and and like doing coke with like your fucking 20-year-old interns when you're like a 55-year-old fucking creative is just like such a bad look.
Yeah, but that mentality is why they were so successful in the beginning.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, they were able to sort of just like, yeah, almost have like the chutzpah to. I mean, is it successful if it's all a fraud? You know what I mean? Like they were able to build. Yeah.
Most of America is exactly what you just defined.
Right.
It's successful but a fraud.
Right. And exactly to your point, it's sort of like extracting as much value as you can out of sort of these counterculture ideals while kind of upholding the basis of American corporate culture, which is based on, I mean, like, is Vice's model that different from sort of Tesla stock? You know what I mean? Where it's like completely inflated beyond any reasonable belief based on the vibe of the company, you know?
Right.
It's like, and at a certain point, you know, like maybe Tesla will be able to I mean, Tesla's worth like 10 times as much as Ford, you know what I mean?
Right.
While producing a fraction of the cars. So it's like will eventually, I think Vice's plan was like, okay, we've got to getting into cable was a way of like solidifying that foundation before the truth came out about the previous foundation of like the impression shit, right? Where like their foundation was like, hey, we've got this huge audience. That wasn't really true. But if we can get the cable company, if we can get on TV and sort of like
it
almost
legitimizes all this,
do it almost backwards, right? We're like we got this huge network of viewers. Now we're getting into TV, gonna build up this foundation of something solid where it's like now we've got a channel. That's like real estate. You know what I mean? That's like
right.
an asset. That's like a tangible thing. And where it's the same with Tesla. Will Tesla be able to, because of its shareholder value, be able to sell enough cars eventually to make their value true? You know what I mean? Like right now they don't sell enough cars it's all speculative, right? So like Tesla stock is 10 times more than Ford's because people are trying to get in on this company that could, if you believe Elon Musk's vibe, run everything from all the satellites in the world, you know, all the batteries in the world, you know, all the cars are getting into trucks. He's getting into, you know, big at-home battery. Like if you believe all his sort of prognostications about the future, then it does reflect, then it is a good bet, right? But if it's all bullshit and they're actually producing a fraction of the value that the company is purported to be worth, then there's this gap that is essentially vibes, right?
Vibes are at the center of it, yes.
Yeah.
But what I think a difference here, to be devil's advocate, is Tesla, you got the cars, you got a truck, they got solar panels, they got chargers. What else can Vice do but content?
Well, I mean, they were like, sort of
how do you
saying,
grow that?
What they were trying, right? They were trying.
Besides cable, like it would be like Eliot's going to go find Joseph Kony, and you're like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, they were trying to get into hard news, right? So they started as, I don't know if all of your listeners, but like essentially like a photo, like a counterculture photo book that was in tattoo parlors. That was fun. It was like
that's
fun.
How it started.
Fun to flip through. It was like it was a magazine. It was like It was Vice magazine, and it was the big thing in the magazine was do's and don'ts, and so it was like a picture of somebody. It was all like street photography, people out in Brooklyn being like, here's like, dude, like my friend got on it for having a band, like he had written like the Specials in Sharpie on a shirt. And he got photographed outside of a show. He got a do, and that was really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
You know?
Okay.
And that was like it, right? And then they started sort of pivoting to video.
Okay.
And they got in pretty early, but then they started pivoting to, you know, real hard news, and because they started getting these investors, and they started, you know, suddenly it was like, we are going to be a top 5 news, like Vice News, is going to be up there with the Washington Post and
There's like
the New York Times, CNN.
Fox News, Vice.
We are going to break stories. We are going to, have real reporting, which is really expensive.
Super expensive.
That's not
but
branded.
it's also very profitable.
That's not branded, especially when you don't have a payment model. It's all free.
right.
So you're relying on advertisement, which means that you need to be showing that you have those kind of clicks. It's not there's no subscriber situation.
Right.
Which maybe they would have pivoted to that. I think that was obviously considered. But you're right. I mean, but they wanted to go from essentially being a tattoo shop magazine to one of the big media brands in the country. And to their credit, they almost did it. They almost did it. But the views, it just, it's like
the we work of digital media.
The way you make money as a big news organization is just not pretty much because of Facebook and the way that they destroyed. People were like, I don't need to pay for the New York Times anymore because I see all the news on Facebook.
Right here.
Yeah. And so, like the New York Times, the biggest selling aspect after subscriptions in there is their game app.
Yeah, that might be bigger now.
It's so big, and the amount of time that people spend on it, is so huge. In the New York, it's like absurd to even consider that such a big part of the New York Times revenue comes from fucking Wordle.
What a great acquisition!
Incredible acquisition. I remember it was like what, $100 million or something.
That's a steal.
And a steal. I see. I'm on the train and people are playing that spelling bee. I play spelling bee in Wordle every day.
Really?
65-day streak.
No big deal.
And it's just like, that is what is allowed the New York Times to do reporting.
Is Wordle.
Vice
needs a Wordle.
Right. I mean, they like, if
Flappy
you're like
Bird or something.
Right. And that would have been its super truck, that would have been, or that would have been the Tesla sedan for Vice is having the ingenuity to be like, no, we're going to get into games as well. I mean, I'm sure they were talking about it. I'm sure they were talking about, producing video games or some shit. They were like, just like those guys, like whether it's Elon Musk or Shane Smith, that are sort of like so far up their own ass that sometimes they stumble upon something good.
Right.
But like that they just believe the smell of their shit smells so good to them.
Well, they made so much money initially. They're like, well, then I got to be right all the time.
Right. But especially like with Musk, like they made so much money initially without making that many cars. You know what I mean? Like his vibe was so lucrative that I think it's intoxicating. You know what I mean?
PayPal, then SpaceX.
Yeah.
He's got a couple other things, and then
but SpaceX is not profitable.
SpaceX not profitable?
No way. It could be. I think like Starlink is profitable. There's no way SpaceX is profitable, and I'm not even sure that like maybe Tesla is profitable now, but it wasn't for a really long time. In the same way that a lot of these big companies like Uber just started turning a profit, Amazon just started turning a profit. I mean, in part because I don't even know if Vice, we were doing this a little bit, but it's just like selling your data, right? Like
oh, yeah.
There are just data companies now more than like service companies, which maybe that would have been Vice's big would have been, somehow getting a really good app and being able to sell millennial data, but like, I don't even know if that was possible at the time.
No, they were like liberal Barstool, and then Barstool succeeded, and
that's a great comparison.
There's a ton of those,
but Barstool smartly has kept their operations really small,
very small,
and they sort of own the IP on so many of their biggest successes, like where, if Vice had kept it small and had these big and not like flown too close to the sun, for whatever reason.
Right.
But I mean, I think it's totally. Portnoy seems to have like, I don't know. I don't really know what his vibe is. He seems to be a little bit more realistic. He's also like a huge asshole, but like I don't know if he's looking to have Barstool Television as its own like channel. I could see it. I could see it potentially. I don't know. Maybe it's cheaper now to get into cable than it was when Vice tried.
Well, it's not worth the effort. Dude, YouTube's the future.
Yeah.
I talk on this couch and people are watching and paying to hear extra content. That's so stupid.
It is stupid.
Imagine if we made this a full-time thing.
Yeah.
So
insane.
I get it. You hire more people. I don't know where I'm going with that. But
yeah, I mean, I think there was some stat that's like people watch YouTube. I think it's like it's the most watched thing on people's televisions. On people's televisions is YouTube.
I don't watch cable.
Yeah.
Only for sports. I haven't watched a show. I don't even watch Netflix or Hulu or anything. I just watch YouTube.
And kids too. I mean, it's really they've gotten in with children in a way that I wouldn't necessarily think, because I would think that kids would be more like distractible and distracted, and they're Does YouTube own? Who owns Twitch? Is Twitch its own thing? Amazon. Interesting.
Yeah. And then Google has its own, but it didn't work out. Because then they took Ninja from Twitch to go on there, and then it didn't work out.
And
I think they dropped it.
Kick?
I think it was Kick.
Which one's Kick?
I think that's the Twitch competitor for Google. Or it's vice versa. Call us in.
One of them was, because I know that Kick's appeal was that like anything goes.
Right.
And like you can be bad in a way that like Twitch was fairly regulated. And like Kick was like, you can be bad. And then it's just like, oh, we're just going to get child trafficking neo-Nazis doing content for children on here. And I think Kick there's some legal ramifications to having.
What are neo-Nazis doing for kids? What, they're doing like racist Bluey?
Yeah. I mean, essentially
Paw Patrol, but they just beat all the perps.
like the men's rights guys who are like racist. But I mean, those guys, if you're a men's rights guy, you're talking to children.
What's men's rights?
Like the guys who are like, men are an endangered species in this country. We need to take manliness back. I can't remember if we talked about this, but like that shit almost got me when I was coming out of high school, and luckily I was like too involved with the punk scene and like too much of, I guess, like a lover of women at heart, a feminist, I guess you could say. But like I had gotten dumped, and then my high school girlfriend cheated on me, and I just put into Google how I was like, we started dating 10th grade and a senior, and so I'd lost my virginity to her, like hadn't slept with anybody, like didn't know how to talk to girls at all. Put into Google how to talk to girls, and got in and found this like essentially like pickup site, right?
Oh, was this what's his name? Do you remember the show The Pickup Artist?
Yeah, the Mystery.
Mystery.
No, it wasn't Mystery. It was I can't remember the name. But he got fucking canceled. I remember that much later.
This guy or Mystery?
The guy that the guy whose site this was, and I remember like a lot of the tips being like really practical. A lot of it being just like dress well,
and you're like, fuck yeah,
and
all
work
right.
and work out, and take care of yourself. Have an apartment that a woman wouldn't be completely embarrassed to
all good tips
see. But then a lot of it was like, okay, and here's what to do when she says no. and then it's because it's all about like having sex. So it's like she's gonna say no. What she does when you say no, you take and then it's like, but mixed with some practical stuff, like when you're talking to a girl, like touch them on the arm, and then as you get closer, you could touch her hip, and then you're sort of building to this, but it's like fucking, it's at its base like reducing women to this thing that can be solved.
It's a very salesy approach
It's
like
I mean,
teaching you objection handling. It's like, no, it's
and then
it's a human being.
all of those guys got into, and then so once that is sort of like the underlying root of like the idea of what women are, which is something that is meant to be solved and then fucked, right? And to do that as much as possible.
It's like a Rubik's Cube.
Right. It's not, the goal isn't like love. The goal is like fucking 100 women a year or whatever. It's like a Rubik's Cube where there's like a formula, and, and once that's the baseline thing, then, and once, you're getting, they're like, on the forum, it's like, yeah, what to do when she says no, where it's like rapey for sure. Yeah. And then you have to start being like, this is necessary. This is women's fault that we have to do this, and society's fault. Like, this is
chill.
Right. Like, the reason why we're all here is because we're alienated, and women don't respect men, and they like, we have all been feminized, and this is like the way to reclaim manhood. And that gets then you are in some weird,
weird territory.
And you're in weird territory. And those guys, I mean, you've seen it on TikTok, like the guys, like, it's like the ick guys.
Andrew Tate.
It's the Andrew Tate, an perfect example of, and then people who are like, that was actually a really profitable model for Andrew. I'm going to try to do exactly that. I mean, I think there's some like guys on Kick who got in trouble for like fucking 16-year-olds like a month ago, like, and are part of this sort of like manosphere, like.
There's a manosphere?
That's what it's called, the manosphere. Brutal name.
Yeah, they gotta hire marketers.
Brutal, grotesque. But then, it's like the guys who have like the round table of like OnlyFans girls, and then like two like tatted up guys with Prime energy drink as the sponsor, and they're asking like a girl like what do you see, what do you need in a guy, and then it's like they're always like trying to catch them,
right,
where it's like they're on their hypocrisy, and like how it's the guys who are like, so you want guys to be tall but you're fat, like shit like that, where it's like the dumbest.
Yeah, it comes up every now and then for me.
Yeah,
and I'm like, well, whatever, who cares?
Yeah.
And it's always like the same type of girl. It's always the same type of guy, same type of girl.
Same type of exactly.
So it's like, all right.
Yeah.
I know what I'm getting here.
Yeah, it's always just like some dumb bitch who's like going to look, who's like the only person in the world that this man has intellectual superiority over.
Right.
It's like,
he's casting it all himself. It's not like
she's literally a child, probably with tits, in a push-up bra, who he's like borderline trafficked into his podcast studio.
Yeah.
And instead of like in Estonia, where she'd be like fingering herself on camera, she's just having to talk about like her icks.
Yeah, I'm saying like, how much should a guy make a year? They're like, $1 million. And
they're
like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
I don't know.
How much do you make?
When I was young, I didn't know what a salary was.
And she's like, I shouldn't have to work. And he's like, this is why. These are the bitches that are responsible for why you can't get laid. And then guys are like, get so upset.
There's also like 14 girls there, and they only clipped that one little instance. It's like, well, what the other 13 say?
Yeah, the scholars. Those are actually real like feminist scholars taking him to task, and he can't clip those. I'm sure the rest of the segment is
the rest of it was like, oh no, that's
like
a fair point.
Him talking to Judith, Judith Butler with tits, and she's really, describing the way that the male gaze actually is an impediment to male fulfillment. Yada yada. Imagine, yeah, but I think, but yeah, to what I can't remember even where this tangent started, but
no.
It is sort of, yeah, I mean, it's all like the amount that Vibe is compensated for in America is really great. I mean, more so now than ever. Like, Vibe is everything. Like,
Vibe's always been everything. There's just more different vibes now.
Yeah.
There used to be, a couple vibes. Vibes are centralized. We've decentralized vibes.
I don't think so. I don't think that yes, I think so. And just like vibe is essential, and so it's almost like if everything has a vibe, does anything, like Wendy's will clap back on TikTok in like the comments,
I love that shit.
Does Wendy's have a vibe? Who is Wendy's?
They're
is
trying
Wendy's?
to have a vibe.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're trying, like, every brand is trying to be this, is trying to have this like human personality.
Well, dude, I was talking to Kyle Mara about this last night. There's a lot of different subcultures now.
Yeah.
There used to be a couple subcultures. Now it's like the algorithm specifically makes a subculture just for you. There's like an Eliot culture.
Yeah.
And there's a Rich culture. There's a Kyle culture. Where it used to just be, like even with the strip clubs, there used to just be strippers and strip clubs. Now there's goth chicks that are probably gay strip clubs.
Yeah, I mean, dude,
and
go
fake
to
tit strip clubs.
If you want to get a lap dance from a chick who looks like your little brother, dude, go to Pumps. Go to Pumps. 10 out of 10.
A bunch of green bananas over there.
Yeah, dude. I don't know what that means.
Underdeveloped
women.
God.
Yeah. And well, no, but is that the look? Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Are they in their mid-20s? Yes, but in the green banana.
Green bananas.
Ew.
That's what we used to call like girls that like were underdeveloped in college. We would call them
but
green
it's such a phallic
bananas.
term. Like, I feel like that would be the term for like me up until I was 21. Was like.
No, I had a roommate. He would always hook up with these girls that looked like they were like 14, 15, but they were like 20.
Yeah.
So we'd be like, "Oh, dude, what are you into? Fucking green bananas?
Green bananas.
Wait for them to ripen up a little bit,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean,
give them some time.
It's always good to compare women to fruit. I think we've been doing that since the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eve ate the apple. It all started with this.
Yeah. Yeah. It does sound like these girls have little cocks, though, when you're saying green bananas.
I can't confirm or deny,
But I'm like saying, I think, I'm not sure that Pumps has that too, but probably more likely than any other strip club.
But now I will say with this pseudo strip club, I don't know what you would call it, like pseudo strip
like
culture.
Titty bar, yeah.
Titty bar. Oh, like Ethel's over here, maybe a little bit. Is that a comparison?
Ethel's,
yeah.
I mean, that sounds like it. That sounds like the gayest strip club of all time.
That's where Metcalf would bring a lot of girls on like first, second dates.
Ethel's?
Shut up, Metcalf, dude. Yeah, Ethel's. It's called. Pretty sure it's called Ethel's.
It's like titties out.
It's burlesque, at least.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think there's clubs. It's not. This is not burlesque, but I think there are a couple clubs. Usually, in like every city, especially with like a big strip club scene, there is sort of like one alternate strip club. Like in Atlanta, it's the Claremont, which has generally like older and sometimes trans strippers.
There you go.
Like, retired from the scene, get to work at the Claremont.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, if you
want
to get
a part-time gig.
Yeah, if you want to get
it's the Walmart greeters of strip clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Get you out of the house.
Yes. If you wanna get, there's one there named what the fuck is her name? It's like Dolly or some shit.
Sounds about right.
And she's this like older black woman, and she'll crush a PBR can between her tits and sign it for you, and that's like Dolly's merch or whatever.
She signs the can?
She signs the can. I
How
have
do you
one.
even
I have
sign
one
the
on my
can?
fridge.
What, the bottom of it?
Just the can, yeah. And she signs the cap of the can.
Okay. How much
Yeah.
does that? How much does
like
that go
$20.
for? That's not bad for her.
Not bad.
No, slam some cans with your tits.
Yeah, just crushed them.
Slam some cans with your cans.
Yeah,
Good for her, dude.
Exactly. Pretty cool party trick.
Yeah, I mean, we'll make it a career.
Yeah.
You know, we were telling jokes at parties. We're like, we can make this a career. She was slamming cans with her
I was
tits.
like, yeah, I think I could go.
She's like, I could do
pretty
this
far with
professionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me put this on TikTok, see what I
There's
get.
Jumbos in LA. I'm trying to think of what the one is in
You're
Austin.
big into this scene. I had no idea it existed.
Yeah, and that's like, I mean, the real reason why Pumps is like, because those are like my peers. Those are like, so I am friends with a bunch of girls that work there now after like going there.
But they're comics?
The girls that work there, just like they're like at Pumps, like those are friends of mine now, and it's not like we.
So you're a
hook
regular.
up. I was at a strip club like that, especially if you're a good tipper, it doesn't take that long for you to be recognized. And like me and my boy, like people that I go with are like, mad respectful. It's not like
There's creepazoids there 100%.
yeah, we're like honestly not even really going there. We're like almost the new, I think, iteration of what that old scene was of like almost like the business meetings, like that, where we go there kind of just like to hang out. Especially when I was like flush with cash, like it was like fun to just go there and like talk about scripts or whatever with like my filmmaker friends or whatever. So almost like we are the sort of like the new generation of that old scene, which I think had a lot of problems, but we are cooler.
Okay.
And we're feminists, actually.
It's like if Soho House had PBRs. That's what you're trying to go for. Make this an artist hangout.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
I'm also, I'm trying to...
Exactly. In this... Right. I think that's exactly. I think that's a good example. We're sort of like, it's like almost the woke version of the old bad thing. Or of the not necessarily even bad, but like
a different iteration
of this maybe like corporate throwback of like taking a meeting at the strip club. But now since it's a woke strip club and we're woke, then it's cool.
You're the 7th Street burger of our parents'
but
McDonald's.
Also, I'm around a bunch of like really hot girls with their titties out, and it's nice.
God, I might have to stop by. Goth chicks?
Yeah.
I might have to stop by.
Like mostly.
Mostly?
Yeah.
We're going to continue this on the Patreon, folks. Meet us over on the page. See you there.
Hell yeah.